All right, shalom, shalom. This is Brother Kashakwala coming back at you with another lesson, giving all glory, honor, and praises unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who were well. Peace, love, salutation to the elect 144 first fruit. All right, I just wanted to I wanted to do a breakdown of the book of Philemon, which I really don't hear a lot about. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to go ahead and at least do a synopsis of the chapter and what it was signifying and who Paul was talking to and why he wrote the letter and the significance of this letter, because this, when you read this, it highly pertains to us. It's a quick book, but it's a heavy hitter when you read it. Okay, it's a heavy hitter when you read it. Now, just to give a quick background, or you could say a summary, all right, of this chapter. Okay, it was written to a man named Philemon. Okay, the title of the letter, which is the epistle of Paul to Philemon. The title of the letter is the name of the addressee. So who Paul is addressing is who the letter is going to, which is Philemon. Hence why the book is named Philemon. Now, without a doubt, this book was written, or this epistle, which is a letter, this letter was written without a doubt by the Apostle Paul. Going back to I'll read verse 9 real quick. No, not verse 9. I'll read verse 19. Verse 19, it says, I, Paul, have written it with my own hand. I'm just going to read that part, but this book, or this letter, was actually written by Paul. Now, the time frame when he wrote this was around like 60 to 63 AD. Now, if you go in your chronological history, around 60 and 63 AD, Paul was in his first imprisonment in Rome. Okay, where he also wrote the book of the Philippians. He also wrote to the Colossians. He also wrote to the Ephesians, and he wrote this to the brother Philemon. Okay, because as you read in this, Philemon was a believer, and he did the work. When you read it, especially in the first verse, it says, "And fellow laborer," meaning what? He labored in Yahweh Shai and Mashiach. Okay, so he believed in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Philemon did. Okay, so all this is during the time about like 60 AD, 60 to 63 AD. All right, and by the order of this letter was sent along with the letter to the Colossians as well. Okay, because if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on it, Philemon did live where the Colossians lived. He lived in that area, so this letter could be taken at the same time. Okay, so the main purpose of this book, the main three characters in this book are Paul, Philemon, and Onesimus, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Onesimus, okay? Which Onesimus was what you call a slave to Philemon, okay? But Onesimus turned, when he ran away, ran into Paul, and therefore what? He started to believe through the ministry of Paul, and subsequently became a helper to Paul. And Paul ended up recognizing that Onesimus had a master, and his master was Philemon. So Paul couldn't keep him around. He had to give him back to his owner. Like the scriptures say, you can only have one master. Okay? So he had to relinquish Onesimus back over to Philemon, and hence why he wrote this letter for Philemon to accept him back, but in a different manner. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get into it. This is Philemon chapter 1 and 1. All right. This is first verse. Paul, a prisoner of Yahushua HaMashiach, and Timothy, our brother, unto Philemon, our dearly beloved and fellow laborer. That's right. It says Timothy, our brother. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think Luke was with Paul, Timothy was with Paul, and I think they all got imprisoned. But again, don't quote me on it. You can go back and read in the book of Acts, again, if I'm not mistaken, the 20th chapter. Maybe, But it says, Paul, a prisoner of Yahushua HaMashiach. That's right. He was a prisoner of Yahushua HaMashiach. Let's get something real quick. Let's go to the blue letter. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 3 and 1. It says, Ephesians chapter 3 and 1, for this cause I, Paul, the prisoner of Yahushua HaMashiach, for you Gentiles. That's right. He says, for you Gentiles, because we understood he had we understood that he had the office of the Gentiles. All right. According to what? Let's get it. Galatians chapter 2. All right. This is Galatians chapter 2 and 8. For he that wrought effectually in Peter to the apostleship of the circumcision. That's right. So Peter was the head apostle over the circumcision. As we know, Peter really stayed in Jerusalem. A lot of people in Jerusalem knew they were Israelites. So that would in turn make them a part of the circumcision. So that's who Peter preached to. It says that, and he says wrought effectually. So Peter was highly motivated to go and preach Yahushua to the Israelites who knew they were Israelites. It says the same was mighty in me toward the Gentiles. That's right. So Paul's duty was go into the Gentiles, the ones who didn't know they were Israelites, even though they were Israelites by bloodline, but they're Hellenized, okay, via the Greeks. All right. So understanding what he's saying here in Ephesians 3 and 1, for this cause I, Paul, the prisoner of Yahushua HaMashiach, for you Gentiles. He was meant to go to the Gentiles to preach Yahushua. But again, it says the prisoner of Yahushua HaMashiach. All right. So going back, it says Timothy, our brother, unto Philemon, our dearly beloved. Okay. Let's get the word beloved super quickly and we'll move on. The word beloved is agapatos in the Greek, which means beloved or esteemed, dear, favorite, worthy of love. Okay. So Philemon, unto Philemon, are dearly beloved, are dearly favorited, or dearly esteemed. It says in fellow laborer. It says in fellow laborer. So we understand if Philemon's a fellow laborer, that he believed. Okay, he believed. So verse 2, it goes on to say what? And to our beloved Apphia, if I'm pronouncing it, our Apphia in that's Archippus, our fellow soldier, into the church of the house. Now, when you go into it, again, our beloved Apphia, which this is a woman. It could possibly be Philemon's wife, but for sure we know it is a woman. It's a female. Okay, so let's just get her real quick. Apphia means fruitful. Okay, and what are women to do? They're supposed to be fruitful. They're supposed to bear children for us. All right. It says a member. I'm not even gonna read that. A member of Philemon's household. All right, probably a foreign origin. Apphia, a woman of Colossae. See, again, that goes to show you, to prove that Philemon was in the same area as the Colossians. So therefore, this letter could be sent at the same time as the book of Colossians, or the Epistle of the Colossians. So we're in the same. This is during the same time frame. If anything, he was probably in the church of the Colossians. All right. So more than likely, this could be Philemon's wife, but I'm speaking as a man. Now, Archippus, our fellow soldier, all right, let's look up who he is because he is mentioned in the scriptures when you go back to the book of Colossians. When you read the book of Philemon, you have to continue to go back in the book of Colossians. So I'm going to go to Colossians 4:17. It says, and say to Archippus, take heed to the ministry which thou hast received in the Lord, that thou fulfill it. That's right. It says, take heed into the ministry. All right. So it says again, Archippus, our fellow soldier, into the church in thy house. Into the church in thy house. Now, when you go back into the history, a lot of the churches were held, even today, how we do it today, we hold classes, we do live streams. The church is held in someone's specific house. Okay? It's in a house. All right? And to know that it was held in Philemon's house, we can comprehend, and yes, you can assume that Philemon was he was well off, he was well to do. And on top of that, we understand that Philemon may have been a little bit wealthy because he owned what you call quote unquote slaves. All right. And the slave in this point, in this matter, was Onesimus, okay, who was owned by Philemon. But we're going to get into that, okay, because you don't want to call it a slave, because Onesimus was a Gentile under Philemon. It's clearly evident that Onesimus did not believe until he came across Paul, but he had to leave Philemon to encounter Paul, okay? So to continue, Archippus, when you look him up, of course, we got him in Colossians 4:17. When you look him up, he was like a horse gatherer, a horse ruler, all right? Archippus, in the Greek is Archippos, if I'm pronouncing it right. Let's let Esau say it.
Strong's G 751. Archippos.
Mm-hmm.
Archippos.
So Archippos, which means master of the horse. All right, a certain teacher in Colossae, which this another thing in turn that Philemon was a part of the church of the Colossians. Okay, so he was a horse ruler. All right. So continuing on, verse 3, it says, grace to you and peace from our Father, Salakia, and peace from Yahweh our Father and the Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. So literally he's saying Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Barakatham right there in verse 3. All right. So verse 4, it says, I thank my power, making mention of thee always in my prayers. Now, reading this epistle or this letter, Paul, in the beginning, the first 7 verses, highly esteems the faith of Philemon in his house, okay? He understands that they believe and that they're workers, okay? And they believe in the work of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai that they've been called to do. Now, he makes mention of these things before he gets to the situation at hand, okay? This shows Paul's mannerisms and his how polite he was and how he acknowledged and how brotherly he was, because this is the same way we are to be toward our fellow laborers that we see week in and week out, or day to day, or talk to or make mention of from day to day. All right, this is what Paul was doing. He says, I thank my power, making mention of thee always in my prayer. So he was always in their minds. You should be praying for one another. Paul prayed for one another. And to prove that correct, I'm going to go ahead and get a few precepts showing you that he prayed for the Akim. Because here's a letter to the Ephesians. Okay, I'm going to jump to Ephesians chapter 1:16. It says, cease not to give thanks for you, making mention of you in my prayers. So that's another indication. Hey, Philemon was not a part of the church of Ephesus. He was a part of the church. Clearly, when we read it, he was a part of the church of the Colossians. because this letter again was sent the same time as the book of Colossians was sent. Both Apphia and Archippus were part of the Colossian area. So therefore, in turn, Philemon, without we're doing a what is it? What am I trying to say? Eliminating A, B, and C. When you get the answer D, he had to, that's what we're doing. We're putting the pieces together to see that A, he was a part of this church, B, he was part of this church, C, he was part of this church, D, he had to be a part of the Colossians. By going back and looking up who these two were, and they were a part of his house or a part of his church in his house, we understand that he was in Colossae, or he was a part of the Colossian church, if I worded that correctly. The process of elimination is what I was trying to say. Through process of elimination, looking up these two, we understand that Philemon was a part of the church of Colossians. Hence why both of these books were written and sent at the same exact time. Okay? That's the process of elimination. We understand Philemon was part of that church. So understanding that he said that he makes mention of him in his prayers, that's a true statement because he makes mentions of the Ephesians in his prayers. Okay? Also, when you go, if I'm not mistaken, it's in the book of 1 Thessalonians 1 and 2. Yep, 1 Thessalonians 1 and 2. We give thanks to the Most High always for you all, making mention of you in our prayers. Paul prayed for the Akim. So this statement right here is true. Okay? And even when you study and do miscellaneous studies on the book of Philemon, there are a whole bunch of critics that do not question the authenticity of this letter. So therefore, they confirm that this letter is a true letter that was actually written. Okay? That goes to show you the validity of the Bible, that it is real. Okay? And if you don't believe it, you out your damn mind. But that's for a later topic. So continuing in verse 5, it says, hearing of thy love and faith which thou hast toward the Lord Yahushai. That's right. And toward all his saints. Okay? And toward all his saints. So actually we'll go back to Ephesians, the first chapter, and read verse 15. He says, wherefore I also, after I heard of your faith in the Lord Yahushai, and love unto all the saints. That's right. The same thing, the same spirit the Ephesians, Paul saw in Ephesians, he saw in Philemon. Hence why, that's what he said unto him. Now to even bring it further home, let's go to Colossians, the first chapter, and the fourth verse, because we understand that Philemon is a part of the Colossians. So Colossians 1 and 4, since we heard of your faith in Yahushua HaMashiach and of the love which ye have to all the saints. Okay, so that applies to Philemon as well. Okay, he's just reiterating it right here, and Paul reiterated a lot of times, and I'm gonna prove that point very quickly. Okay, Lord willing, I can find it. Okay, I want to say it is the third chapter. That's right. It says Philippians 3 and 1. Finally, my brethren, rejoice in the Lord, to write the same things to you. All right? He's saying to write the same things to you. He wrote the same things to the Colossians, the same things to the Ephesians, and the same things to Philemon. Okay? Because understanding what he said right here in Philemon 1 and 5, hearing of the love of thy love and faith which thou hast toward the Lord Yahushai, and toward all his saints. And that's another indication that Philemon believed. This is Colossians 1 and 4. Since we heard of your faith in Yahushai HaMashiach, and of the love which ye have to all the saints. That is literally the same thing he told to Philemon, and he told to the Ephesians, and the same thing he's telling to who? the Philippians. Finally, my brethren, rejoice in the Lord. To write the same things to you, to me indeed is not grievous. He's saying to me indeed is not grievous because I already know this. I wrote it to 3 other churches. But for you, it is safe, meaning but for you, it is needful. Okay, I need to tell you this thing. This is beneficial towards you for me to say the same things I said to everybody else to you. You need to hear the same thing because Paul understood that all churches had to be in the same type of spirit. Okay, that's it. All right, so let's go back to Philemon, chapter 1 and 5, and I'm gonna go to 6. Hearing of thy love and faith which thou hast toward the Lord Yahushua and toward all saints. All right, verse 6. That the communication of thy faith may become effectual by acknowledging of every good thing which is in you in Yahushua HaMashiach. That's right. Again, that the communication of thy faith may be effectual by the acknowledging of every good thing which is in you in Yahushua HaMashiach. Okay? So that word communication, all right, it means sharing. So that the sharing of thy faith. As a matter of fact, we can just go ahead and get that word communication. In the Greek, it's koinonei. Totally probably butchered that. What's up, Esau?
Strong's G 2842. Koinonia.
Koinonia, a fellowship association. That's right, because the word fellowship is to associate oneself. All right, community, communion, joint participation, intercourse. The share, all right, like I said, the communication means the sharing. All right, so when you put the word share in there, all right, I'm not taking or adding, I'm just implying and using context. All right, because there's simpletons out there. Yeah, look, he's adding his word. No, bro, I'm just looking up the meaning of it. All right, Philemon 1 and 6, that the communication or that the sharing of thy faith may be effectual. Now, the word effectual goes into effective, okay? So it says literally that the communication or that the sharing of thy faith may become effective by the acknowledging of every good thing which is in you in Yahushua HaMashiach. That's right. So let's focus on that last part where it says every good thing which is in you in Yahushua HaMashiach. Let's get a quick precept. Let's go to the book of Thessalonians. Let's see, 5 and 18, which says what? It says, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of the Most High in Yahushua HaMashiach concerning you. That word concerning is how you know it can link up with this acknowledging of every good thing which is in you in Yahushua HaMashiach. That means that is concerning you. Okay? So let's go down on to verse 7. It says, for we have great joy and consolation in thy love, because the bowels of the saints are refreshed by thee, brother. All right? So again, verses 1 through 7 is Paul almost praising or giving encouragement and acknowledging Philemon's faith in Yahushua HaMashiach. That's how he starts off his letter, okay? Which again, in turn, shows the characteristics of Paul. This book really heavily shows how Paul really is. That's why this book is heavy. Okay, when you really read it, this shows how Paul, it shows his mannerism, his politeness, okay, his acknowledgement. It shows that he watches. It shows that he cares, okay. In those first 7 verses, you can see Paul's actual belief, belief in Philemon, that he believes in Yahushua HaMashiach, okay. So verse 7 again, for we have great joy and consolation. When you read the word consolation in context in this, it literally means comfort, okay? So when he says, for we have great joy and consolation or comfort in thy love, All right, because the bowels, when you go into the word bowels, it means your inward parts are literally the heart. So he says, because in the bowels are what? In the mind. Because the mind of the saints are refreshed by thee. Why are the minds of the saints refreshed by Philemon? Because what? He's a fellow laborer. He goes out and does the work. He tries to reel in the elect. That's why. That's why the saints' minds are refreshed in thee. And he says, brother. So he acknowledges again that Philemon is a brother to him, that he's a fellow laborer, and what? That Philemon believes. Okay? All right? So going down to verse 8 is where the narrative starts to switch, in what we start talking about the slave or the servant that ran away from Philemon. Okay? All right? So verse 8, wherefore though I might be much bold in Yahushua Hamashiach to enjoin thee that which is convenient. Okay? So the word enjoin, all right, means the word enjoin. And this is like command, if I'm not mistaken. Let's look it up. He says, wherefore though I might be much bold in Yahushua Mashiach to enjoin. So if he's bold to enjoin, meaning I'm bold in the spirit of the Lord to command you this. So let's get the word enjoin. It's ipetaso, okay, which means to enjoin upon order, command, or charge. There you go. So this book also, or this letter, he is charging or commanding Philemon. So this also shows you an exercise of order. Okay, this is an exercise of order. He is exercising. Paul is literally exercising his powers in the order of things. Okay, he's not abusing his powers. He's just exercising it. There are times when you have to exercise your authority over a younger man. It's just true. It's facts. Prime example of today is Apostle Tahar telling us to do 3 videos a week. He is exercising his order, his authority, and passing it down to the rest of the Akim, but it's nothing in malicious intent. Saying or making that decree for us is actually helping us because we're more in the spirit every single day. So it's the same thing here that Paul is doing. He's just exercising authority when it is needful to, but he's not abusing it. There's a point in the matter where you abuse it, your authority, and you exercise your authority in the correct manner. We're all brothers at the end of the day. We're all reaching for the same crown, and we're all going to get the same penny. It's just an order of things, which you have to fall under. Now, Paul here is exercising his authority that was given to him from who? Yahushua Hamashiach. Simple. Okay? So it says, I might be much bold in Yahushua to enjoin or to charge or to order or to command thee, so you, that which is convenient. Okay? The word convenient would be fitting. All right? I might command you that which is fitting. Okay? So going on to verse 9, it says, yet for love's sake, okay? Yet for love's sake, I rather beseech thee, okay? And the word beseech means to appeal to, all right? It says, yet for love's sake. That goes to show you again Paul's humility. He backs his authoritative actions with humility, okay? Because he's gentle with his fellow laborers. See, this book really shows Paul's true intentions and his true characteristics. In just 25 verses, you really get to know Paul in this. It says, yet for love's sake, I rather beseech thee or appeal to thee, being such an one as Paul the aged, and now also a prisoner of Yahushua Hamashiach. All right. So with that, just continuing, I beseech thee for my son Onesimus. Now this is the first time Onesimus is mentioned. okay, whom I have begotten in my bonds. Now, the word Onesimus, or the name Onesimus, literally means useful. Now, let's look it up. All right. Onesimus. All right. Onesimus. All right. In the Greek, it means profitable or useful. Okay. So his name is what his occupation was. It was a servant to, or quote unquote, just for understanding and edification purposes, he was a slave to Philemon. A slave has to be useful and profitable to the master. All right. It says a slave of Philemon. All right. So continuing, all right, it says, I beseech thee, all right, for my son Onesimus, whom I have begotten in my bonds. Right. So Paul is calling Onesimus his son because Onesimus, what? He ran into Paul during his ministry, and in turn, what? He believed and subsequently became a helper to Paul. All right. But he was a slave to Philemon. Okay. He was a slave to Philemon. So technically, Onesimus was lightweight going off. All right. And to prove that, we're going to get Deuteronomy, the 15th chapter. All right. Because this goes into a Hebrew slave. Because Onesimus ended up believing, therefore, what is he? He is a Hebrew Israelite. Okay. Salakia. Yeah. He is a Hebrew Israelite. So 15 and 12. This is Deuteronomy 15 and 12. And if thy brother, an Hebrew man or an Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee. So obviously for Philemon to acquire Onesimus, and he was a slave to Philemon, he had to be sold to Philemon. Okay. But Onesimus was an Israelite. He just didn't believe until he ran into Paul. And now Paul is handing him back over to Philemon. All right. Philemon's not going off for having him as a servant. I'm going to say it like that. All right. Because the word slave in this society is heavily looked down upon when slaves are in the scriptures, and we are to have slaves in the kingdom. All right. It says, and if thy brother in Hebrew man or in Hebrew woman be sold unto thee and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. And when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. Thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy flock, and out of thy floor, and out of thy winepress, of that wherewith the Lord thy power hath blessed thee, thou shalt give unto him. Verse 15. And thou shalt remember that thou hast a bondman in the land Salakia, and thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in the land of Egypt. So humble yourself, and the Lord thy power redeem thee. All right. Therefore I command this thing today. All right. So Onesimus, he wasn't given. And it's obviously clearly evident he didn't serve his years. All right. He ran away. So Philemon, being a man of the Lord, would have known these laws, and that in the 7th year he could let Onesimus free, according to the law of the Bible. Okay. Because we understand and establish that Philemon believed. All right. Therefore what? He followed the law to the best of his abilities. Okay. So Philemon would have had to read this because he was in the lot of owning a servant, a Hebrew man, because Onesimus in turn believed in this word. Okay. So let's keep going in the book of Philemon. It says, beseech thee for my, Philemon 1 and 10. I beseech thee, again, I appeal to thee for my son Onesimus. So literally in verse 10, okay, in verse 10, Onesimus is now a son to Paul. Okay, meaning what? He is starting to make intercession. He is starting to make intercession to Onesimus. Okay, Because Onesimus is lightweight in the wrong. Okay? So this is Jude chapter 1 and 23. It says, and others saved with fear, pulling them out of the fire, hating even the garment spotted by the flesh. Okay? Onesimus having the action of leaving Philemon, that's of the flesh. Okay? He didn't know. But now, since seeing the ministry of Paul, he knows and believes. Okay? Because Onesimus, if I'm not I'm pretty sure he was mentioned in the book of Colossians. Okay? Which, matter of fact, I'll get right now. Colossians 4 and 9. Yes, Colossians 4 and 9. With Onesimus, a faithful and beloved brother who is one of you. All right? Therefore, Paul is making intercession and pulling Onesimus out the fire. All right? This book of Philemon is heavy because it's heavily portraying John 8 and 32. Okay? Let me get John 8 and 32 real quick. John 8 and 32 goes on to say what? And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Okay? So let's get Galatians 3 and 28. All right? This is Galatians chapter 3 and 28. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither bond nor free. There is neither male nor female. For ye are all one in Yahushua Mashiach. Onesimus used to be a slave, but not anymore. He's a brother. He's a fellow laborer. He's a servant under Yahweh Hashem Yahushua now. Okay, because he had got the truth. With Onesimus, a faithful and beloved brother who is one of you, they shall make known unto you all the things which are done here. That's right. Onesimus is now a fellow laborer. We don't consider him a slave to Philemon anymore. He's doing the work. He knows the truth now. So he has become a brother because he helped Paul. Therefore, he put his hand to the plow. So he is telling Philemon here, I beseech thee for my son. He's making intercession for Onesimus. He is no longer a slave. Because what? He got the truth, and the truth shall set him free. And we understand by Galatians 3 and 28, neither free nor bond, but we are all of Yahushua HaMashiach, meaning of the Israelites who have gotten this truth. We are servants to one master now, which is Yahushua. Okay? So this is what he is telling Philemon. All right? So continuing verse 11, which in time past was to thee unprofitable, but now profitable to thee and to me. Now, this is funny, okay? This is how Paul speaks, okay? When you read verse 11, it says, which in times past to thee unprofitable. Onesimus' name means profitable or useful. Now he's saying, but now profitable to thee in me, because Onesimus helped Paul, and now he's living up to his omen numen. Onesimus is. He's living up to his name, is what he is saying right here in verse 11. Okay? At first, he wasn't useful. He was disobedient. Okay? But now, since getting the truth and helping me out, I can see that he is now a profitable servant unto the brothers and unto Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. And he is living up to his name. All right? Going on to verse 12. Okay? It says verse 12, whom I have sent again, meaning I sent back. When you go into the word again, it means back. All right? Thou therefore receive him. Again, this is Paul making intercession for Onesimus, because, hey, Paul could have just sent him back, and Philemon could have dealt with him in a different manner, or probably been very irate and livid. Why the hell did you run? Why did you go away? Blase, blase, blah. But Paul is making intercession to have peace and mercy on Onesimus and bring him in not as a slave or as a servant unto you, but as a brother now. Okay? This shows Paul's mercy and his willingness to fight for a brother, because we understand There's a lot of work, but the laborers are few. This is another brother added to the body. This is another laborer added to the work to build on the house of David. Let's take him in and let him help us. Okay? So continuing, it says, whom I sent again, thou therefore receive him. That is mine own bowels. Okay? Verse 13. All right? Verse 13. Whom I would have retained with me, listen to this, that in thy stead he might have ministered unto me in the bonds of the gospel. Okay? Whom I would have retained with me. Okay? Whom I would retain. Now, Paul, he is exploiting, all right, his brotherly relationship with Philemon, all right, to request that Onesimus remain with him as a helper. Okay? That right there in the first part, whom I would have retained with me. Now, when you keep going, it says that in thy stead. Now, when you go into, let's look up the word stead, okay? Which is huper, which means in behalf of, okay? So it says that in the behalf of who? Philemon. He might have ministered unto me in the bonds, okay? The bonds meaning the chains of the gospel, because we understand what? We're prisoners of Yahushua Mashiach. Philemon is a prisoner of Yahushua Mashiach. Onesimus is now a prisoner of Yahushua Mashiach. Okay? He says, so Paul, whom I would have retained with me, like, man, I would have kept him. All right? I would have kept him. He was exploiting to Philemon that he would have it if he would have it his way that Onesimus stay with him because he was such an help. But he could not take advantage of Philemon in that way because Philemon is not on his behalf. It was not he didn't have permission to keep Onesimus in his stead, okay? And that's just facts, okay? So that, again, this is showing Paul's order, his politeness, and his willing to give, all right? This is what he's telling him. Verse 14, okay? Verse 14. All right? Verse 14. But without thy mind would I do nothing. See, that's polite. He is returning something that Philemon owned. Now, if a brother came to your house and left his phone, right, and left, would you just keep his phone without his permission? Hell no. You would go return it back to him. Now, if the brother said, oh, you can keep that, I got a new phone, that's a different story. He gave you permission to keep that. All right? But it's clearly evident that Philemon took Onesimus back because he didn't say that to Paul. All right? And we understand that Onesimus did not stay with Paul because Paul is returning him to Philemon. All right? It says, but without thy mind would I do nothing. So without your permission, I will do nothing. Okay? That thy benefit should be, Shalakia, should not be as it were of necessity, but willing. All right? So let me get 2 Corinthians. Let me get 2 Corinthians chapter 9 and 7 real quick. All right? This is every man according, 2 Corinthians 9 and 7. Every man according as he purposeth in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for the Most High Yahweh loveth a cheerful giver. And that's what Paul is doing. He's practicing what he preaches. Paul is a bad man. All right? Because he understands what Yahweh Shai said, I think in Matthew the 12th chapter. For every idle word you should take account of. Okay? He knows what he said to the Philippians. He knows what he says to the Colossians, the Corinthians, the Ephesians. So he's practicing what he's preaching to Philemon. Okay? Verse 15. For perhaps he therefore departed for a season. Perhaps. Let's get the word perhaps. All right. The word perhaps in the Greek is taka, which means hastily, quickly, soon, pre-adventure, perhaps. Okay? Perhaps. Because we understand what the scriptures say in the book of Ecclesiasticus, the 11th chapter. Okay? It says what? It says what? Let me get it real quick. Salaka, let me get it real quick. Let's do King James Bible. All right, let's go to 1611 and let's go to the book of Ecclesiasticus, the 11th chapter. All right, because we understand, Paul understands what this says. It says what? Sirach chapter 11 and 7. Blame not before thou hast examined the truth. Understand first, and then rebuke. So he's saying right here, for perhaps he therefore departed for a season. Okay, so Paul is understanding the situation first, and he understands that Onesimus belongs to Philemon and that he left prematurely. All right, that thou shouldest receive him forever. That's right, that thou shouldest receive him forever. Okay, continuing, verse 16. Now, not now as a servant, but above a servant. Ooh, that's heavy. Not now as a servant, but above a servant, more than. Okay? Not now as a servant, but above a servant, a brother beloved. There goes to show you John 8 and 32. The truth shall set you free. You are no longer a slave. When we got this truth, we're no longer a slave to Esau no more. Now we have become a brother unto Yahweh Shai. Okay? Especially to me. All right? But how much more unto thee, both in the flesh and in the Lord? That's heavy. All right? This is Ephesians. Let me get something in Ephesians real quick. This is Ephesians 6 and 5. It says, servants, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling and singleness of your heart, as unto Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. All right? So again, this is an admonishment, all right? And lightweight, a rebuke unto Onesimus as well. Look, man, why are you running away? Philemon was your master. You were not supposed to be disobedient. Okay, now I'm returning you, but now as a brother. Now in this case, how much more you be obedient to him and to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai now that you know the truth. Verse 17, if thou count me therefore a partner, receive him as thyself. There you go. That's Paul again exercising his authority unto Philemon. So it's like, look, if you consider me a fellow laborer, if you consider me an apostle, all right, then take him back as a brother. Because he said what? Enjoin. He said what? Enjoin. Which means an order or a charge. All right? An order or a charge. So if you can count me as an apostle and a fellow laborer who is above you in the order, then I would think and I would know, just having that implying like, hey, bro, I would know you would receive him as you would receive me if I came back to you, okay? You should start treating him differently. Simple. That's an order, all right? Verse 18, again, this is how Paul understands what? Ecclesiasticus chapter 11 and 7, all right? If he have wronged thee, or oweth thee aught, okay? Or oweth thee aught means anything, all right? Put that on mine account. I'll take the blame for it. Just receive him as a brother. Put that on me, okay? This is, again, he's making intercession for Onesimus to come back to an household in all love and brotherliness. Okay? So verse 19, I, Paul, have written it with mine own hand. I will repay it. Oh, bro, I got you. I'll pay you back. Albeit, I do not say to thee how thou owest unto me, even thine own self besides. Okay? All right, continuing. Verse 20, yeah, brother, let me have joy of thee in the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Refresh my bowels in the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. This is synonymous to the book of Philippians when he was saying, fulfill ye my joy. He's saying the same thing to Philemon, but it doesn't grieve him because Philemon has to hear the same things he wrote to the other churches. Okay? He has to hear the same exact things. All right? Verse 20, it says, yeah, brother, let me have joy of thee in the Lord. Refresh my bowels in the Lord. All right? Verse 21, having confidence in thy obedience, I wrote unto thee. All right? Knowing that thou wilt also do more than I say. So with that being said, we understand that Paul had faith in Philemon to execute orders. Okay? And Philemon was a trustworthy kind of guy. All right? It says, having confidence in thy obedience, I wrote unto thee. All right? It says, knowing that thou will also do more than I say. So whatever I say do, I know you will abound even more, or strive for even more, okay? To be well pleasing in the eyes of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, as well as in the eyes of men, like the scriptures say. You know? So hold on, Salakia. Yeah, I wanted to get a precept to that. Let's see something. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 7 to 16. I rejoice therefore that I have confidence in you all in all Salat. I rejoice therefore that I have confidence in you in all things. That's right. You have confidence, and Philemon, Paul did, that he will execute orders. Also in this, Colossians chapter 2 and 5, one of my favorite verses, it says, for though I be absent in the flesh, yet I am with you in spirit, joying and beholding your order. All right? And the steadfastness of your faith in Yahushua HaMashiach. Okay? So going back, he is confident in beholding the order that will be executed when Philemon reads this epistle and at the same time receives Onesimus. All right. All right. So going on to verse 22, but with, and this is the verse 22 is funny to me because you got to stay on, Jake. You know, it says, but withal, prepare me also a lodging, for I trust that that your prayers I shall be given unto you. All right. So the word withal means in the meanwhile, prepare me a lodging. Okay. So Paul is like, yeah, I trust that you're gonna do what I ask. And I trust that you're gonna bring in Onesimus with brotherly love, but prepare me a lodging anyway, because I'm gonna make sure of it. You know, and that goes to show you, as he said, prepares me. That reflects on Philemon's financial status in that particular church, because the church was held. He had the church in his house. He had servants, and he had a woman. He had men working. You know what I'm saying? He had a Hebrew servant. So it goes to show you his financial stability as well, and that goes to show you, to push that even ourselves, we should strive for financial stability as well, man, to be well off, so we can incorporate indulge all of our time in to actually serving Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, making sure ourselves are good, our heads of our camp are good, or the apostles and the elders are good, so we can fully magnify the name of the Lord without the stipulations and the setbacks of what Esau has in this particular land right now. And that's kind of what the position that Philemon was in, because he said, prepare me a lodging, because he knew he can tell him to do that because of his financial situation. It would be nothing for him to prepare, a room for Paul. It says, and again, but withal, prepare me a lodging, for I trust that through your prayers I shall be given unto you. So in that part right there, we understand that when he wrote this epistle, he was still in prison. So that in part it says, for I trust that through your prayers I shall be given unto you. Because he understands that Philemon is praying for him, that he gets out of his predicament or situation. So Paul had a strong belief that he was going to get out of prison soon. He was no wavering or faltering. He knew the Lord was going to get him out of prison, So to continue, it says, there salute thee, Epiphat, if I'm pronouncing this right, Epiphras, my fellow prisoner in Yahushua Mashiach, Marcus, Aristarchus, Demas, Lucas, my fellow laborers, the grace of the Lord, Yahushua Mashiach, be with your spirit. Amen. Now, these men that were mentioned, okay, that he mentioned at the end, he mentions at the end of Colossians, the 4th chapter. I'm going to start at Colossians 4:10. He says, Aristarchus, my fellow prisoner, saluteth you. All right? So he's saying the same thing to Philemon. Hey, these brothers are saluting you. Okay? It says in Marcus, all right, which you can read about in Acts 12:12. All right, which I actually think is the brother who wrote the book of Mark, if I'm not mistaken. This is Acts 12:12. And when he had considered the thing, he came to the house of Mary and the mother of John, whose surname was Mark, where many were gathered together praying. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to Acts 19 and 29, I want to say. Acts 19 and 29. Yup. It says, and the whole city was filled with confusion, and having caught Gaius and Aristarchus, men of Macedonia, Paul's companions in travel, they rushed with one accord into the theater. That's right. So these men were with Paul. Okay, it says Demas. So let's go find who Demas is. So it says, Aristarchus, my fellow prisoner, saluted you, and Marcus, sister son of Barnabas, touching whom you received commandments. If he come unto you, receive him. So again, he's telling them to receive another brother when he comes. It says in Yahushai, which is called Justice, all right, who are of the circumcision, these only are my fellow workers unto the kingdom of the Most High, which have been a comfort unto me. All right, and Epaphras, in the how do you pronounce his name? I might jacking it up again. Epiphras, who is one of you, a servant of Yahushai, saluteth you, always laboring fervently for you in prayers, that ye may stand perfect and complete in all the will of the Most High. Okay? And then continuing on in verse 14, skip down to verse 14, it says, Luke, the beloved physician, and Demas greet you. Okay? Because these were men that were with Paul. And he's saying the same thing to Philemon as he said to the whole church of the Colossians. These same brothers are saluting you. So he's saying, my fellow prisoners, my fellow laborers, the grace of the Lord Yahweh Shai Mashiach be with your spirit. So he's saying on the behalf of these men right here, you know. So that's the end of the book, and the main thing that you really want to get out of this is I think like three things, man, about this book. It's a valuable addition to the New Testament. All right, for three reasons. It reveals more of Apostle's own character, Apostle Paul's own character towards us. You kind of see how he rules his spirit and how he conducts himself in the spirit of Yahweh Shai. And it gives important insight into the intuition of slavery. Okay? All right? And with that being said, it gives a vivid picture on why he will write Galatians 3:28, where it says no free nor bond, and it gives you a more clear understanding of John 8:32, where it says the truth shall set you free. Literally, the truth set Onesimus free, man, and he became a brother instead of a servant unto Philemon, because it was in order to Philemon to bring him in as such, not as viewing him as a servant anymore, but actually as a fellow laborer now, which is still a service unto himself. I'll say that I'm a service unto the Akim in my camp, and the just like Akim in other perspective, sincere camps is the same way. Each Akim is a servant to one another. We are ministers. All right. We are ministers. A minister means to be a servant. You're in servitude towards one to another. Okay? Apostles and elders are in service to us. Their service to us and what they bring to us is the knowledge and understanding that they've attained via Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and they relinquish that unto us. That is a service unto us. Though they're ministers as well. They minister unto the body, into the brotherhood, into the sincere Akim. So it's the same thing Paul is telling Philemon about Onesimus, that he is not to be so-called labeled a slave anymore, but as a brother, because he in turn acquired the truth, and now I'm giving them back to you. So that is a full, for the best of my ability, breakdown of the book of Philemon. And this is Brother Kasha Kwala from the GMS Atlanta Church. I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rechakodash, for letting me do this lesson. And double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace, love, salutation to the elect 144 first fruit. And Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Until next time, I want to say shalom.